Hold on. Why is the audio not capturing? I think this is on my end. Please hold. Possible technical difficulties. Technical difficulties. That is strange. Why is... Oh, I know why it's not capturing, right? Anyway, in the continuing story of my audio setup is cursed.
Are we trying again?
There we go. All right.
We're good?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Commentarious Magic's high-quality stream for today.
Blame
Sunday,
the Windows audio stack.
2026. I'm, as always, Grandpaws.
Big
Talking
cheese.
from mobile and somehow less cursed than Aracat.
Hey, you only have one audio output device. I have like 6. Anyway.
Skill issue.
Big cheese.
I already said big cheese.
Cricket and...
I'm not saying my name, but I am also going to say you have more computer problems than anyone I know.
Yes.
In regards to everything. So I do think it is actually just you.
And with us today, we have special guest.
Cursed Chords, reminiscing about all the... It just happens when you do streams. Like, audio just... how many times did we have that happen on Meticulous Talks? It is just nonsense.
Yeah, you have had them a bit in the past. That's fair. I do remember that. Chat, we need you to decide who is more cursed. Arcat's audio setup or Cursed Chords, who literally has the word cursed in his name.
Why is this a contest? I don't think this is a contest.
That's the question I want to ask.
Okay, look. You need to be very computer to screw up this badly. Okay, normal people this doesn't work. Mine works.
I mean,
eventually.
You're not wrong. It's true.
Look, just be glad that it isn't somehow blasting Caramel Dancing at 150% volume through the stream.
Yeah.
Because that's a very real possibility with me.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Anyway, Cursed, welcome. Glad to have you here.
As ever, glad to be here.
How glad are you not to have to do hours upon hours of video recording and editing this week?
Yeah, my God. It really was just a week ago, wasn't it?
Yep.
Just a week away.
That has not processed for me yet. I'm extremely glad, yes. The Invitational, which is what we're here to talk about today, it's 3 stages, and every one of them is great and also effortful in each of its own ways. But it is always very fun.
And it's the highlight of the competitive season. And we appreciate that.
It really is. You know, we sit there and we obviously are excited for continentals that we run at cons, and it's a great chance to compete and to give out some very valuable or desirable prizes like the designer card and all of that. But ultimately, Invitationals carries so much clout and so much in terms of bragging rights.
Yeah, see, that's just like shiny cardboard
experience,
right? Like that's got nothing on the prestige here.
Yeah, it's true. So thank you for creating probably the preeminent competitive tournament content for this game for the last several years.
Well, I honestly think I would like to thank everyone. First of all the players who put aside a fairly significant amount of time on their own to make the decks, to think about bans, to play in some cases, like in Bugle's case, for example, this year, probably more than 10 hours total, probably way more than that, and I think about it. And all of our people who helped me on commentary this year, we had 5 or 6 different commentators. Hithrock helped me record games this year, so this year it was a team effort, and I want to make sure that everybody else gets their due on that as well.
It's kind of more fun that way, though, right? Like it's an opportunity to, without diving too deep into the content right now, uh, get new faces and new competitors, right? Who now have a chance to be shown off on, an very well regarded, anticipated stream schedule, right? And then you've got those same individuals, many of whom who have not had a chance to appear or contribute to any sort of streaming content, that now get to provide their own commentary and their own insight as well. And then even people in the community like myself that didn't get the chance to participate this year or chose not to participate, still get to be involved in all the excitement. So it truly is a unifying experience.
That's what we aim to achieve, yeah.
And it just comes at the expense of your sanity for like 3 months.
2.5. Maybe it feels like
2.5.
yes. No, now that you think about it, like 2.5 of playing, but then there's the pre-tournament. Yeah, 3 is probably better. 3 is probably better.
Yeah. And obviously, congratulations to Cheese, who's here as well, who made it all the way to the grand finals in one of the closest finishes that I've seen in an Invitationals, basically since it started. So
There were some
great match to watch.
very close games in there.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to go watch the grand finals yet, it's on YouTube. I would say it was my highlight of the whole tournament. Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was not bad. So, and of course, we want to echo those same sentiments that Cursed gave for congratulations to everybody who participated. Congratulations to Bugle for his win in Invitationals this year, and for everyone else who had the chance to participate, some for the very first time, which is great. Talk to us, if you would, Cursed, about this year's Invitationals, some of the things that you feel made it different than previous years, and we can kind of go from there. Overall notes, overall takeaway from the tournament this year.
Well, I think the thing that impressed me the most about this year's event was that we had an incredibly diverse field, both in terms of players. As you mentioned, we had a bunch of players who were competing for their first time, but also in terms of the deck submissions. As you know, one of the things about the Invitational is each player submits 4 decks. They're not allowed to have a main character shared by any of those. But we didn't have much main characters getting shared just over the course of the whole field. I think like Spell for that was like the one that got repeated a couple of times.
Which is understandable. It's a very powerful main.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and were there a couple of Selenos too, I think?
Let's see.
Oh, there were a couple of Celestias,
Yeah.
I think, and a couple of Misties. But like, okay, yeah, there were a couple shared. But there's a big difference. There's purple, there's blue, there's orange, there's everything. Aggro control. Like, this wasn't one of those years where we all got sick and tired of seeing the same deck get played after, semifinals or whatever. There was totally different stuff throughout the whole tournament, which was just wonderful to watch.
And it was great to watch from an audience perspective as well. Even where there was some overlap, or decks that were at least very similar to each other, if not completely identical, there was enough variation and enough diversity in the card choices, either with the mains or with the draw decks, that led to different playstyles and different approaches to piles of cards that otherwise had quite a bit in common. Like, of course, the blue-purple / purple-blue aggro decks that always have a tendency to pop up in Adventure because everybody likes AT, still played very differently from each other. And so that was cool to see.
For sure, yeah. That was probably the only theme, as it were, of the submissions was the number of people who threw blue, purple, even splashed into those colors just for make our mark together. Whether it be core and adventure, or adventure, or tranquility, or read the manual, etc., etc. But as you said, even then, like some people sort of splashed into it. Some people went full on. Smithers was the only one running Shining Armor with the Daybreakers, although I think a couple of other people did Daybreaker stuff too. But yeah, it was a bunch of different ways even to approach that idea.
So diversity was the name of the game for this particular year for Invitationals. Now, speaking from kind of a broader perspective, this year also, if I remember correctly, kind of refined something you tried for the first time last year, which was this idea of having players ban cards from Invitationals to try to avoid things becoming too meta in what is ultimately supposed to be a deck building tournament, right?
Right. I think actually this is the third year we've done bans.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because the first time everyone banned one card in one format. And then last year you could pick a format you want. No, it was one card. It was one card in each format. No, wait a second. Maybe I have it wrong.
But we've definitely seen an evolution of the ban mechanic.
Yeah.
Right. Regardless, it is different this year, right? I believe this is the first time that the bans applied to. Did they apply to both formats this year, or did you ban independently for formats?
I believe they were independent.
Let me actually go find it, because now I'm kind of forgetting.
Oh dear.
Trying to remember.
Well, especially because we were playing the weird metagame and saying, okay, hypothetically, if Harmony was here. Although we also mixed it up even further.
That's true.
So I
With
think
the hypothetical Harmony discussion, yeah.
I think this year everyone picked one card in Harmony and one card in Adventure, one card in Core, and the bans in Adventure. No, they were totally separate.
Yeah, they were independent. Yep.
Well, we picked multiple, but it was ordered.
But yes.
And go ahead.
Yeah, so we had found before that, things just weren't having the bans, and then the last couple times we did it just didn't have quite enough of an effect on things. We still ended up, as I said, with a couple of decks that everyone just kind of, well, not everyone, but most people kind of gravitated to, and so things got a little bit samey as we got through the later rounds of the tournament. And so we've been kind of gradually working up to a little bit more and more. I don't want to get into a situation where, all the good stuff is banned and we just kind of are fumbling our way through with mediocre decks.
Okay, everyone gets 45 cards, 2 vanillas, let's go.
No fun cards allowed.
Nice, calm, ordinary day times 16.
Exactly. But yeah, so this year I think we got pretty close to a good balance. A lot of the strong cards were out. Clearly, some things didn't get hit, as Cheese demonstrated running the mill deck without modifications.
True.
But this year felt pretty good, I think, in that regard.
Cheese, since you're here, obviously, you have an opportunity to speak as a participant and as a final, competitor in the event. How did you feel the band format and band selections that people made this year influenced or affected, number one, your deck building choice, and number two, the overall tournament.
Yeah, I remember like the big ones was not having Rufus in. Was it Core we didn't have him in, or was it Adventure? I kind of forget.
He was out in core, yeah.
Yeah, I think that had a really big impact. I think it definitely hurt the Celestia deck I ran. Otherwise, yeah, I was just looking for decks that just weren't impacted by the bans because it was format specific. And so, maybe that card's a terror in one format, but it's still good in other formats. So,
It's
you can
true.
run it there.
And that's always been one of the most interesting things about invitationals is this balanced dichotomy between two different approaches to playing or participating, right? There's the desire to play the decks that you feel are going to take you furthest and are going to be the most consistent and the most powerful to allow you to win the majority of your matches if you can.
Yeah.
And with this private secret deck submission that's in there and some of the restrictions that are placed on there, navigating not only around the ban list but around the maximum 4 copies of the card within a particular format rule and no duplicate mains, there is still some incentive to try really breaking the mold and pulling out some crazy tech or trying to find a new niche within this self-constrained meta that's there, so to speak. And it's always been one of the things that I've found most interesting. Cursed, as the creator of this format and as the organizer and officiant for these games, you've been doing this now since 2021. Is that correct? Was that the first Invitationals?
That sounds about right. It's somewhere in the 5-6 years, somewhere in there, yeah.
How much do you feel the current structure and formats of the Invitationals tournaments are representative of players' deck building skill, and how much do you feel they are representative of the peaks and valleys within particular metas for core and adventure?
That's an interesting question, and that's referring to sort of how things are now, or in aggregate over the whole tournament.
I would say now, right?
Yeah, because
So, like,
the ban
taking
mechanic
a look at
especially
this year.
means
Right.
Go ahead, Art.
yeah, like the ban mechanic especially means that, and this is like working as intended, it is reflecting kind of what the global meta looks like, but it can't be the global meta. Because if there's something that's, a little bit busted in the global meta, somebody's going to ban it.
Yeah, the hot meta decks get banned.
Yeah, so that means that you're going to see, and I think this is working as intended here, you're not going to see, the very top tier of the global meta decks. You're going to see the interesting fights between the, not the first through third place finishers, but you're going to see the, third through 10th. Those kinds of decks. That's where the interesting stuff's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's close to correct, unless you're playing Mill.
Glares.
People forgot about it, or just there's other higher priority stuff to hit.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, because that's one of the things that the global meta sees too. Like, people forget about combo, and occasionally one will pop its head up and just be like, "Hi, I exist again. You forgot about me."
True enough that it is weird that, to some extent, Mill has kind of become the invitational specialty, and you see it every year in this tournament and not that much elsewhere. Although I guess last year was a little bit sparse in terms of adventure tournaments in general, so that could very well have been the reason.
That's true.
Overall, like things, of course, do rise and fall, as you said. That was probably the impetus behind all the blue and purple that showed up at this year's event, is how much, well, yeah, how popular that style had been over the course of the last little while. Thank goodness, at least Lunch Rush was banned Lunch Break.
Lunch
sorry,
break.
yeah, was banned in both formats, so we didn't see too much of the ridiculous stuff. But I think, yeah, given how much diversity we saw in the deck list this year, I would say we've got a pretty good split, in like more on the side of individual deck builders throwing out some new tech. It's easy enough, I guess, to point to Bugle putting together 4 totally new things, although like Bugle always pops off in the Invitationals with whatever is on his head, so fair enough that, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of ranting and not really answering your question, but I feel like we're in a good place.
I mean, we're in the ballpark, at least, for what I was looking for. And that brings up a great point, right? Now, with so many years under your belt and under the belts of, several of the participants that are here, certain playstyles and certain strategies have definitely emerged. And I don't necessarily mean in terms of the types of decks they end up playing, but how they go about building or selecting those decks, or even the bans associated with them, right? Like, speaking from a third-party perspective, Cheese, it seems to me, likes trying to find the niches that he can fit into in at least a couple of the decks that have not been affected significantly by the ban card selections, and thus are able to perform at near peak capacity. So it's looking for where some of those minor compromises might be able to be made, but otherwise going with some tried and true strategies and just piloting based and hoping to get there based on deck piloting skill. Bugle has a tendency to try to play the out of left field, completely wild decks, many times not even brought to smaller tournaments. Not that they've been held on to, secretly or anything like that, but build, really treating it as a deck building challenge and seeing if that surprise factor can get there all the way. And then you've got other people who, like Andrew, who participated this year, or Animoy, who participated as well, who have kind of these pet decks that they've been crafting over time and are using this as kind of the core to be built around, and then trying to fill in these other slots. Or on the other end, people like Pancake, where it doesn't really matter for the most part, or it hasn't in previous years, what the bans are, because the format, the archetype of the deck is understood by everyone globally weeks before the tournament even starts.
Gonna make that deck work, or that archetype work, no matter what.
There will,
Exactly.
if Pancake's there will be farm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say he didn't do as much farm this year, but yeah, he kind of did.
It was just different, right? It was different farm. He did some combo, right? But he definitely did some farm, which is fine. And it is one of the things that's cool, is there's these different ways to approach the tournament, for sure. Maybe one of the, I'm kind of putting you in the hot seat here, but I mean, you did volunteer to be here for the stream, so I guess you're just really
kind of
quick.
expected
Kind of
that,
the job, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'll ask probably one of the hardest hitting questions I think I can right now.
Okay.
The Invitationals tournament is a great filter for players of great innovation and great skill. regardless of format, because of how the point system extends these invitations to participants, right? So if people have been able to play quite a bit online, or if people have been able to, compete in this last chance qualifier, if people have been able to attend numerous conventions, right? Regardless of the formats being run, as long as there is sufficient participation, there's a chance for this to lead to a greater likelihood of being able to participate in invitationals. That means that everyone who's here has proven themselves to some degree or another in some of these tournaments to at least be competent, if not very skilled, in both deck creation and deck piloting, or one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Given that you have this field, a broader but still qualified sampling of participants, and you have for several years now implemented these ban restrictions before deck building even begins. And over the course of this ban phase, there's some discussion that goes on between the participants in terms of who's thinking about banning what card in what format, and
The
if you
collusion,
ban
yes.
this, I'll ban this, and right, the friendly, acceptable collusion aspect of this, but done from this group. How representative do you feel the ban lists selected in invitationals should be of cards that are not yet banned in the true global metagame?
Oh, that's spicy.
Do you feel like do you feel like invitationals should be used as a litmus test for the broader formats out there?
Your answer is going to determine what we implement.
So
Anyway,
no
what are we
pressure.
banning? No.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So there's a couple ways to kind of approach that. Some of the bans that get sort of submitted, take this year for example, could certainly be slotted into that category. Let me pull up one of them. So, like I mentioned Lush. I don't know why. Lunch break. Yeah. I believe we had an adventure. We had Miss Main and Bodyguard in the list. Like these are cards that get bandied around sometimes, right? In these discussions about this card should get banned or whatever. But to some, like, that collusion, quote unquote, factor does happen, but there's still, I think, a degree of individualism in these bans. Like a lot of years, think like the year that I competed, I wasn't really thinking about which card do I think is would make the meta better, quote unquote. I was thinking about how could we shake things up, right? Which is I think that year I banned Buckball strategy, just because it's like, okay, this is a problem. This is a starting problem that so many different decks use. Let's really throw the cat amongst the pigeons.
That's going to shake some things up for certain.
Yeah, exactly.
That was terrible, by the way. That was awful to try to build around that.
I'm going to be honest. I think that when you get that kind of reaction, you were probably on to something.
Fair, I guess. Yeah, I guess I was going to say also that, like, to some extent, there also were a number of bands this year in particular, because of all the new people who are in, that weren't subject to that collusion and were just sort of more personal, I don't like that deck, I don't want to play against it, sort of things.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily sending a very strong signal for the kind of things that should be considered for, general bans.
Right.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, I think my conclusion is there is probably some usable data in there, but there are a lot of sort of confounding factors around the invitational ban list. Just all the things that make it kind of a special tournament that make it a little bit less useful for thinking about the generalities.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Right. The chaos ban, so to speak, right? Just to throw people for a loop and shake things up. Core, by its rotating nature, is one that we have to pay very close attention to for balance, because each individual meta will only last so long. So if we're going to take action, it needs to be decisive and it needs to be relatively quick. Whereas things in Adventure and obviously Harmony, which was not part of Invitationals this year, can cement themselves in the meta for longer before certain action gets taken, until we reach a point of everything becoming very stale or very solved, right? So yeah, there may be cases where people are just banning a card because they don't like Ara said, where they don't like the particular decks as opponents of theirs. Or there may be a case where people truly are just tired of seeing a particular card in general and feel that it is too strong. So
yeah, or even take we ragged on Pancake a little bit for the fact that he always plays farm. Like he's going to ban a card that's bad against farm, not necessarily something that'll improve the health of the meta, right?
Yeah,
or at least I assume bad.
Right. And I'm going to ban the cards that make farm good. Exactly.
That was the
opinion
of many folks this year, yeah.
Did I ban Day Shift? I can't forget.
Well, someone banned Day Shift, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I did.
Definitely. So we've done a lot of broader discussion on invitationals as like a tournament format without really diving into the nitty gritty of this year. Cheese, Cursed, you both were either participating or officiating, the tournament. Ivory, I know you watched the majority, if not all of the games, and I know I did as well. Ara, I'm sure you caught at least some of those or some of the discussion. Do we maybe want to highlight a few particular decks that or players that were especially interesting or fun to watch, or kind of focal points this year?
Well, I do think there's one thing that's kind of important that we should probably at least discuss a little bit, which is, we had this whole tournament. Where's the results? Who won? Right? So let's look at the bracket real quick.
Okay.
So Invitationals, as you are probably all aware, is a double elimination bracket, so losing once does not mean you're out of the game. So we have both the upper and lower bracket here, along with the final placements. And I believe Brandon was unable to participate and nearly immediately fell out of the...
That is correct. During the deck building phase, he had something come up, unfortunately.
This technically means that the tradition of Pancake and Bugle being paired for their first game is halfway true, as it was Pancake's first game that he actually played.
Yeah.
Was it? I thought it was Pancake and Bugle met in the lower bracket, and his first game was against Smithers.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I forgot about that. Okay. Well, it was postponed by one round then.
Yeah, but it always happens.
Yep, it does. It's
amazing.
Inevitable.
It was predestined.
I'm looking at that. Yeah, I'm looking at that lower bracket path that's there. And I can tell you, having walked that same path as well, oh, it's a slog. Grand finals is much easier now that it is condensed into a single best of 5 match, and I really, really appreciate that, even as a spectator. So thank you for making that change, Cursed. It's still a lot of gameplay.
It is fair. That is one change that so far has received pretty much universal acceptance. Like, a number of the players this year also said that, yeah, that's. I think it might have been you, Cheese, actually mentioned it after the game or whatever. But like, yeah, it's because two best of threes could work out to like 6 hours on back-to-back weeks. Like, oh, that's just terrible for everyone involved.
Yeah, I like the. I don't know if it's really new anymore, but the way that's handled now.
Yeah, and yes, the lower bracket is still a fairly punishing slate of games if you drop into it early and are going to make a deep run. But
I mean, somebody's gotta.
Yeah, fair enough. That was like, I'll mention that Bugle dropping into the lower bracket this year was a little bit of an unfortunate sort of rules thing. Mistakes were made on the initial deck submission deadline. The fact that his original deck submission didn't meet the rules wasn't caught, and so it was a tough situation. Technically, it was kind of my fault, kind of his fault. The rules are that the player is responsible for that kind of thing. Right. So the loss in the first round was administered. We're gonna make changes next year to make sure that doesn't happen again. There will be like a automatic testing tool that'll check that sort of thing.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be nice.
Yes, that will be helpful. And hopefully that will help serve to alleviate some of the stress from you as well in the buildup of having to. Your eyes go cross-eyed after looking at 32 decks, trying to look at a custom. I mean, having the custom Invitationals format on Ponyhead is probably a little bit helpful, but still.
It will reduce my workload once I finish writing the testing tool.
Yeah, that's fair. Do we want to highlight a couple particular lists here, or what do people think? What other aspects of Invitationals do we want to kind of take a look at here in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so?
I think I want to make sure that we call out Animoy's Silverstream deck, because I still am shocked every time I look at it.
We want to go take a look at that?
Yeah, give me a minute to pull it up. Stall for time.
So, tell us why this list in particular is one that really caught your attention or surprised you, Cursed.
It's simple. It's because this is Hot Wings. This is an aggro deck, and everyone who looks at it, their first instinct is, I guess I can't speak for you guys, but everyone that I spoke to, their first instinct when they look at it is, this is an aggro deck, but it's a control deck.
I mean, this sure looks like Hot Wings.
The biggest giveaway that it's a control deck is Allura and Twitch is there.
I was actually going to say the biggest takeaway that it's a control deck is All for the Love of Trash is there. But I agree, Allura and Twitch is also equally up there. This is half of Hot Wings in that this is, I'm going to steal all the things and then retire all the things. It's that part of Hot Wings. We're going back to old, berry flop Hot Wings.
Having both Soren and Shoeshine.
Mm-hmm. We've got Soren, we've got Shoeshine, we've got Sonata Dusk and Song and Dance Routine that's here.
Yep.
Right.
I feel like.
And yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, again, I can't see into the minds of the people who played against Animoy, but I have a feeling he probably got away with some sideboards where people looked at this deck and said, okay, Angel Wing, Spitfire, Galsum Silverstream. Okay, yeah, let's sideboard against this aggro deck, right?
Right.
Yeah. Although I'm going to say, looking at this a second time, my eye gets drawn to the problem suite, and it's just
Fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
What do you mean blackmail can't go in an aggro deck?
Has blackmail ever?
I think
No.
this is the first time Blackmail and Angel Wings have ever been in the same deck. That would be my guess.
Ooh, is that true?
Pie eating contest might care to.
Yeah.
There's probably
fair.
some combos.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sure there's pile variants that use Angel Wings as well, and I know piles ran blackmail before.
Yeah, that's
Why
fair.
not? Right.
Yeah.
I just combo always have to be the Iconoclast.
Hey, at least it can actually exist now, except in the first, 2 years of the game.
Look, we need a scapegoat somewhere, right?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
that's a great point. The problem deck should really be the giveaway here. Look at the top of the deck lists first, people. It's a good indicator of what's going on.
Yeah, so often, problems are an afterthought.
Not in this case. This was intentional.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of retiring and disruption that's in here. Yeah, great call, Cursed, on bringing this one up. And Adamoy,
this is silly.
Way to juke people with a core selection of cards in the draw deck that completely bluffs what's actually going on. If we can, there's one deck here in Invitationals, or just anywhere it ends up getting played, that continues to elude me. I cannot enter the realm of chaos deep enough to comprehend how it works, and yet it does. I see it. It functions. Can we look at Andrew's Student 6 list?
I was really hoping you would have said Smithers' Thorax deck.
Why do you hate me?
You can say Thorax and just make Aura put it up on screen.
Oh.
I've built some wacky stuff in my time. I've found weird card interactions and extremely elaborate combos and things like that. This isn't a combo. This is just Value Town. And it's Value Town across, confirming, yes, all 6 colors.
Who
when
needs
you don't
colors?
care about colors, yeah.
This main says you don't care about colors.
That's what it says in the text box.
It do indeed say that in the text box.
The Student 6 walks in and is just like, I want you to know, we're all counting on you. Good luck.
Yeah. Nice airplane reference. It is wild to watch Andrew pilot this thing. Obviously, Destiny is fantastic here, right? Being able to play Destiny for free for only a single counter off of Student 6 and find any friend in your deck. I believe any friend in your deck. Confirmed here.
Not Minuet. That's the only one, but
everything except Daybreaker, Flare, or Minuet.
Fair, yeah.
Right? Or Windy. Okay, so there's a few exceptions, but there's a lot, right? Zip for value, Diamond Tiara for eager, plus some retiring shenanigans. You got Opaline for card advantage. We got Smolder, who's like the aggro goat. We got one Daybreaker just for extra discard with how much card draw is going on in here. Mrs. Cake can yoink things directly out of the list. And then we've got this supporting suite of Amusement Factory and Cantor Love and Cutie Mark Trail and All for the Love of Trash, throwing stuff back in.
And how much value you can get off of Minuet when your discard pile is full of one-cost friends.
Right?
High impact one-cost friends.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and grab, one of the fastest power growing aggro cards that's here. And I don't know, let's grab a Thunderflap, we can grab a Gallus, we can grab, an Opaline who will give card advantage, we can grab a Diamond Tiara who will give card advantage, and then Heartfelt Apology in here too. If I'm playing all these friends for free, then guess what I have more of? Action tokens. Let's get more friends back from the discard pile.
Sounds good.
It's great. Solid problem deck too. Foolish Argument obviously goes in everything. And then a fair number of 2 bonus problems plus Alternative Solution, which is doing what a 2 bonus problem wants to do without the risk that is commonly associated with a 2 bonus problem. In that it's giving you more points from your problem. Cheese, what about you? What are your thoughts on decks that you either played and want to brag about, or remember distinctly?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of decks that I played, I think maybe Hitch was like the most surprising in how well it did. I feel like I won every game I played with Hitch. Maybe not, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah, you guys banned all the cards that Hitch dies to.
Yeah. And I probably got, well, part of this is, guessing what the opponent's going to play and being like, if they have a ton of removal, I probably don't want to play this if I care about Birds of a Feather. Because, not going to stick around. But, if they got no removal on either option, then, pick this. Get out Birds of a Feather. Win.
Fluttershy is sitting in the corner going, "Pick me."
Yeah. Because I think this was just not impacted that much.
I don't believe it had a single card banned from it.
It did not.
Yeah, because this was core. Yeah, because
I do not see any yellow cards in the core ban list. So yeah.
Yeah, I think and that's again part of why I picked this. It's like, it seems to have done well and not banned, so
Hitch had a rough go of it before Tales of Light came out. I think people's memories are still somewhat clouded by that year of yellow aggro not really being a thing. And Tales of Light definitely gave a lot of support for that, between assist as a keyword, which is obviously featured on several cards here, as well as things like Talking Table, Extreme Case File, Room Makeover, right? So
I'm pretty sure, by the way, Cheese, I think you did lose one of your games. I think it was the match against Smithers where Critter Token got sonsed.
Yes, where I couldn't have any critter tokens or token friends or whatever. I do recall that one. Yeah, and then in terms of like decks, I remember. I mean, pretty sure we've already talked about Bugle's Caver deck, but that one I remember.
Well, not
Uh,
specifically, but you guys might have covered it on your earlier stream.
Yeah, we did
We
talk about
did.
Capper because. Okay.
it brings back the f-stop feels.
Oh yeah, I can't have F stop. Well, I'm gonna make my own.
Pretty much. And like we've looked at that, going back because Capra's Sequester, yeah, which was when did Sequester come? About 2018 or something.
2017. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
2017.
I want to say
Yeah, because
I
the
wanna say
movie
it
was
2017,
2016.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, we've known about this possibility for a long time, but it feels like it wasn't until very recently that
I do think we've seen a couple of relatively high tier Capper lists, but they are very thin on the ground.
yeah.
Do we have the Kepler list up right now, or are we just kind
I
of
can
talking
get
about
it.
it in general? Yeah. Wanna
Yeah,
bring it
but
up
this
for
is so
just a sec?
wacky. I do talking about again.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Ugh.
again, look at the problem list. I wonder what this does.
I'll
I
tell
mean,
you
you could
what
look at
actually.
any of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you go 3 cards in, and you're just like, oh, well, this is gonna be a slog.
Yeah. I can tell you what brings back memories here is seeing Special Beam Cannon, Frozen in Magicite, Magical Misfire, and School Shutdown all there right next to each other, and just thinking of every horrible lockdown control deck that
Yeah.
was played prior to print and play out there. And those cards were always there.
Yep.
Oh,
I mean, like, even Burb had the suite, or variants of Burb did.
I mean, when you had those cards available, you ran them because they were kind of good.
Yeah.
I'm unsurprised that good cards are good and would feature in a, high power deck.
sure, but it's a combination, like she said, right? Like those cards were good because recursion was so powerful. At that time, at the end of the interplay meta, Mistbane had just come out. So every control deck ever suddenly was like, we're back, baby. We can do it. We can play Toolbox again. And Mistbane was, for very good reason, banned in Adventure, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can't run Mistbane here. So Bugle's just sitting there looking at it and it's like, let's do this Capper thing. And
Can't have
tweaking, a
recursion?
little bit of back and forth. Yeah.
Fine. And then conveniently, all but one of those is even power, so, whoops.
And then apart from the toolbox control, just sit there and think, okay, well, it's expensive to do this thing. I can play AT generation, plays Starlight and Zip and Pip, and then say, well, what else can I do? Well, what's kind of like AT generation is my opponent having fewer AT, so let's just throw the taxes package in here.
I mean, that's one of those statements that it's inherently true when you hear it, but maybe you don't think about it that way. It's not necessarily about just getting more tokens for yourself. It's about widening the AT gap.
Differential, yeah.
Right. This is the meta. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. Fun fact: Chrissy Mono White is actually just an AT acceleration deck.
I hate it. You're
Find the lie.
I can't. That's the problem.
Uh-huh. Ivory, what about you?
I mean, we're
Did
okay.
You have any...
Well, actually, just before we go, I would say, by the way, we talked a lot about how oppressive this deck was. Recommendation for anyone watching that didn't see Bugle's match against Pancake, where Capper had a very different trajectory because he was facing double Flashbee Queen from turn 1 and had to worry about half his deck getting banished. So, fair enough there, at least.
We'll have to watch
it's definitely
that.
not an impossible to beat deck.
Anyway, go ahead, Ivory.
Are you asking me to pick a deck, or you want me to talk about this some more?
No, if there was a deck that stood out to you in any of the games that you saw that we haven't already highlighted.
I think we highlighted all the ones I was going to say, unless you actually want me to talk about Thorax.
Did anyone play Thorax?
Smithers did.
Smithers did? Okay.
We don't actually have to talk about Thorax.
Yeah, so there was one Thorax main, there were 2 Thorax Tricorns around.
That's 3 too many.
Yeah, it's a Thorax deck that didn't have Day Shift in it.
Oh, Pee-wee, though.
Yeah. Had Pee-wee. Also didn't run Talking Table, interestingly.
Yay, Birds of Feather.
Yay, birds.
So
Featherweight.
good.
Did every yellow deck run Featherweight?
Every yellow deck should be running Featherweight.
It felt like there was a lot of Eager. It's almost
just like every
Eager
pink deck should
card.
be running Pipsqueak.
And that's funny because Pipsqueak was banned in Core. But there was, still, I mean, if you can get an Eager card into your deck and realistically play it somewhat early, it's probably the right call.
Actually, Featherweight may have been in the yellow primary decks. He was not in the yellow secondaries. Sunny Yellow was not running it. Misty Yellow was not running it. Him. Probably a few others I can find here. Have to take a look at the. I think Student 6 White, Pink, Yellow may have been running it, but that has pink. Yeah, it was running it. Yeah, that's fair. All right.
Well, which is understandable because an Eager card's going to be more valuable the earlier you can get it down, and if it's in your primary color and helps you get off the ground like it does here, I mean, that's a real hard argument to go up against.
Is very true. Well, having looked over those decks, having talked about, the tournament as a whole and how it's kind of evolved and people's opinions, Cursa, do you have any last-minute comments or anything like that you want to share with people before we sign off here?
Talk about what's going to happen new for next year, maybe?
Yeah. Like, one of the things that's always been part of my philosophy with the Invitational is trying to make sure that every year is better than the next or last.
It's infinitely good.
No, infinitely worse.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why we've been tweaking the ban lists and the all that stuff. And one thing, that we sort of mentioned it in passing over the course of this past stream was the last chance qualifier that we ran this year. Technically not part of the Invitational, but still fundamentally attuned to it. That is going to be a thing going forward because we had good sort of attendance and uptake with it this past year. I think this is also the first year that we ran it in this sort of calendar window that used to be in like early winter, late fall. But this set of months, I think, worked out better. So that's going to keep on going forward. But the other big change is that next year we're not going to do the random bracket. Like, it's always been that we have our
seeded
8. Yeah, we have our 8 participants. They get randomly tossed up, except that Bugle ends up with Pancake.
This is just a conspiracy to make sure that...
I was going to make a comment about it because now all you've actually done is cement that even further because now they can collude across tournaments for a full year to ensure it happens.
Oh my god.
Now they can plan it.
Yeah.
If they can manage to pull that off, go for it.
You know, I think
Yeah.
that's
They
how
can
you
have
gotta
it.
roll this. It's just like if you manage, it's the thing. It's like if you manage to go into a tournament and puppet master your way to 9th place just so you can get the salt block, you can have it.
Yeah. But yeah, so it is going to be sort of seeded, like, well, yeah. So the points that have been accumulated over the course of the year determines the seeding, and so this is going to have two sort of main effects. Is the hope. The first is that points will still sort of matter, even if you've got 15 or whatever already, and you're virtually guaranteed admission. You still might want to get a couple more to affect your seed or whatever, or try to end up matched up with your soulmate, whatever. But one thing that happened this year, or at least very nearly happened, and we made us sort of confront the reality of what we need to do if it does happen, is what to do if we end up unable to get 8 participants together. This year we sort of had to run through the whole list of people who had points, and luckily we were able to get 8 people. But yeah, as I say, it forces us to confront the possibility that it might happen in the future. And when you have a defined seeding going into the tournament, it makes it a lot easier to use a somewhat more exotic bracket where maybe you have to give somebody a bye or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that just doesn't really work with a random draw. So that's the hope.
Understood. And we will all look forward to seeing that in action over this next year.
Yeah, next invitational, I guess, if things hold, last chance qualifier after Vancouver, and then February, March, April, something like that. 2027.
There it is.
Get your points at
Go get them.
whatever events we have.
Well,
Everfree, Ciderfest, Vancouver, and some online cons.
one less this year because no Babs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rip.
Yep. Well, that will about wrap up our discussion on this topic for today. We would like to give a big shout out to all of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for your regular support. If you aren't currently a patron and you enjoy what we do, please consider donating. Doing so enables us to continue making content like this and lets you earn some great perks as a bonus. If you have comments or questions you'd like to send our way, feel free to reach out to us through Facebook, Twitter, or email. If you're a patron, you can also chat live with us on the Sim Discord any day, anytime. Finally, if you're looking to watch any of our previous videos, including tournament recordings, you can find them on our YouTube channel, linked just below the stream. With all that said, thank you to each and every one of our viewers, both here now and watching this recording later. And a special thank you, of course, to Cursed for joining us. We are, as always, Commentary is Magic. I am, as always, Grandpaws.
Big G's.
Our cat.
Ivory and
Cursed as well, yes.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.